Time for another video where I break down a track that I made, and the track that I'm going to talk about today is this one. So this track consists of a few different samples and drums and bass and synthesizer from Ableton. And I will walk through all the different layers and what I did to the samples, what I did to the sounds, and how I created this track. So to start with, there are three main samples. The first one is this desert wind sound. In the description I will link to all the different YouTube videos that I use for the samples. So this desert wind sample is just like a background texture and it sounds like this. And that's the first sound I actually found, and without the effects it sounds like this. So what I did a low cut on the EQ of 1700 Hertz, so that's a lot of stuff that I took out. Then I put a delay on it with a filtered wet and an auto pen to create a bit more stereo spread, and then the auto filter I use in the beginning to sort of fade in the sound, and I don't use that anymore in the track. So this was just a background texture that I use as a bed for then creating something on top. And what that is the piano sound that you hear, and that is from a Dutch Schlager song from the 80s called BZN, and the song is called Dance Dance. I'm not going to play it here because of copyright reasons, but there's a link in the description to that song. And that song is written in C minor, as far as I can tell, and it starts with a piano intro, and as you can see, this is the original sample. You have a few, 7 piano hits, and then the rest of the music and the voice comes in. So what I did is I rearranged the rhythm of that. So as you can see here, the way I did it sounds like this. So I made it in a 2-bar loop, and I, instead of having on every beat the piano, on the second one I delayed a 16th, and I added a delay as well on the first and on the last hit. So without the delay it sounds like this. And I put a low cut as well on it. And because this is on 124 BPM, this track, I warped that every hit falls on the beat, and that makes it a bit stretched as well. That's why you hear that in between the hits, it's kind of, the sample is stretched. So now I had the texture and the piano, and it sounds like this. The next thing I found was a funk record, also linked in the description. And from there I took one sort of kick stab hit, which sounds like this. It says trams here, but it's not actually. So I took this one hit as a kick drum, and I created this rhythm together with the piano, and the texture sounds like this. So the piano and the hit are on the same beat. And since the kick, it has some low, but it doesn't have enough. So I added a 99 kick drum from Ableton, exactly on the same spot. The 99 on its own sounds like this. Together with the sample, it sounds like this. So it gives that extra oomph, it's clean. The funk sample, I also used the brass sound in the beginning, and in the end I reversed it and I put a delay on it, so it sounds like this. And then later in the outro I use it as well with the delay. Okay, back to the main loop. The next step was to have a snare drum. So this is a snare from the Swan song kit in Ableton. There's actually 2 snares. I muted one, so it's just one. I changed some of the settings here as well. And then I loaded up a 808 kit from Ableton for the hi-hat. I created this pattern with in the end some triplets. So now all the drums together sound like this. Without the sample, it would sound a bit boring and clean. So that sampled kick stab thing, that really helps to make it more interesting. And of course, one of the things that was missing at this point is a good bass. So I used the operator subsine bass that I often use. And the bass follows the piano chords, basically. So if you zoom in a bit on the piano, it sounded like this. And then I wrote this bass line underneath it. So it's in C minor, so it's C, and then in the end of the second bar it goes to F. So most bass notes are actually at the same time that the piano hits, except in the second bar, this note is off to get a bit more variation. And then together with the 2 kick drums. Together with everything else that we have so far. So at this point I felt there was one thing missing, and that's some kind of pad sound, some kind of continuous melodic thing in the background. And that's where I used in this case actually a preset from the Drift synthesizer, the Stardust strings. What I played is this. So a C and an F, and then a C and a E flat. And I added an auto pan to create a bit more stereo spread. So this was the basic 8-bar loop that I made, and then I started to make an arrangement with an intro, a second part, and an outro as well. So let's have a look at the entire arrangement now. If you look at the entire session, the track is around 2.5 minutes. What I just showed is the first 8-bar loop, and then you get into the second part where it says no piano. So I just took the piano sample out and everything else continues, and also the hi-hat I took out. So it sounds like this. And that's 3 bars. And then the last bar I called bridge. There's a bit of more variation. There's a kick drum that is on every beat. The bass is different. It goes down. And the sample kick drum also repeats. And then the snare is gone. So it sounds like this. And then it goes back to the piano. So with the bass, what happens is this. You have that descending, and then it goes back to the beginning, basically. So those 12 bars are repeated here and here, and then there's a little break. And in the break, what happens is that there is some filtering going on of the desert wind sound, and the bass is different, and both kick drums get faded in, so it sounds like this. There's a bit of variation. You can see that first is one long bass note and then a very short bass, but it's still descending, so it has still that same kind of pattern as it has here, but over a much longer time. first 8 bars are repeated twice, so that's number 4 and 5 here. And then get to the outro, which is a bit different. So again, the piano is gone, but also the kick drum pattern is different. So let me play that. So you can hear that there's less kick drums, that double kick drum is gone. So there's a bit more space in the drums. And also the bass pattern is different. And then we get to the second part of the outro, which doesn't have any drums. And there is this reversed step with the delay that I showed you earlier. So let's play this part. And then the whole song gets faded out from this point, so the last 3 bars basically. So yeah, that's the arrangement. And then the intro is actually very simple. So I filter in the desert wind sound, the reverse step, and a few snares here. I mean, it's barely an intro, but it's just a sort of a roll in. So sounds like this. And then just a full beat starts. So yeah, that's basically it for this breakdown of this track with 3 very diverse samples. One 80s Slager song, a desert wind sound, which is quite a generic sound in a way, and a stab kick from an old funk record, layered with some synthesizer sounds and drum samples from Ableton. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and see you in the next one.